Hey everyone, I want to talk about something that's been on my mind since I started my podcast, Just Getting Good, where I interview women over 50. This one's for my fellow millennials. I've spent years defending millennials against the lazy, entitled, avocado toast stereotypes. I still will. And I try to extend Gen Z the same grace. They're dealing with a brutal job market, AI disruption, and worse affordability than we ever faced. The one exception is boomers, specifically on housing. A generation that bought homes working part-time jobs is now sitting on most of the inventory, often selling to private equity instead of helping their own kids. That's fair game. But this video isn't about Gen Z or boomers. It's about us. Spending so much time on platforms like TikTok, which skew incredibly young, made me realize how much ageism I'd absorbed without noticing. Seeing 20-somethings doing anti-aging routines, or people talking about being 37 like it's ancient. Making this podcast fixed a lot of that. I've talked to women who didn't have great sex until their 60s, women with richer dating lives than people half their age, women starting businesses and moving countries in their 50s and 60s. The lesson: we're not old in our 20s or 30s, obviously, but we're not even old in our 50s and 60s. You're old when you stop being curious and stop trying. Age is mostly mindset. Studies even back this up. A positive outlook on aging can add about 7 years to your life, comparable to diet and exercise. A lot of this stems from how boomer mothers were raised, without much room to define their own paths. And that got passed down as toxic messaging about appearance and worth. Now here's the part aimed at us. Millennial cringe is real. The quirk chungus thing, still obsessed with Harry Potter saying doggo, adulting, that whole self-infantilizing vibe. A lot of that traces back to early YouTube culture, where adults in their late 20s and 30s performed adolescence for an audience of actual teenagers. It shaped how we joke and express ourselves. But here's my pushback. A lot of what gets called cringe is really just millennials being sincere and unafraid to look silly. I'd rather be earnestly trying than performing detachment. That said, the deeper pattern, self-infantilizing, over-reliance on nostalgia, wanting to be perceived as younger than we are, is worth taking seriously. There's a real line between feeling unburdened by your age, which is healthy, and actively trying to pass as younger, which isn't. The trend of millennial women posting selfies just to brag about looking young, sometimes while dunking on a 20-something with normal skin texture. That's beneath us. It's undignified, and it reinforces the exact narrative we should be moving past, that your worth is tied to how young you look. The women on my podcast living the richest lives aren't doing it by looking younger. They have wrinkles and gray hair. They look their age. What matters is mental flexibility, not appearance. A lot of this also comes down to economics. Traditional adulthood markers, home ownership, kids, career milestones, feel out of reach for a lot of millennials. So we lean into the markers we can control, like appearance, or spend on things we can actually afford, like travel and food, instead of a down payment you can't put on a credit card. That's not irrational. There's real economic logic behind it, and real economic forces behind why milestones are arriving later or not at all. You also can't really rank generations against each other. Every era has its own mix of advantages and constraints, and that gets even messier once you factor in race and class. So here's where I land. Millennials grew up with more freedom to question inherited norms than a lot of generations before us. Let's actually use that. Decouple aging well from how we look. Stop obsessing over appearing young. Start questioning the idea that getting older means shrinking or running out of options. And please, millennial women, stop posting selfies asking strangers how old you look. It's undignified, and if you need that validation, you've already bought into the worst version of aging. Keep the sincerity. Lose the appearance obsession. More lifting each other up, less generational sniping. And let's get the boomers to stop selling our future